All right, folks, Philip Helmick here outside of Rishikesh, India, on the banks of Ma Ganga here with a dear, good friend, Devaa Haley Mitchell, co-founder of the Shift Network. And first of all, thank you for being a co-founder of the Shift Network.
You're welcome.
And also, thank you for coming to India and then helping out with this Yoga Day Summit. I mean, you really have jumped in both interviews about the sacred feminine and then also sacred music, Kirtan. And you've got a rich story. I'd love for you to share with people your story about how you came into Kirtan.
Well, first of all, thank you for interviewing me. And for those who aren't as familiar with Kirtan, it's a practice of singing the names of God. And I have been told and have come to know myself that it is said that whether or not you are Hindu or practicing anything, one of the beautiful things is as we chant the names of God in certain sacred languages, particularly Sanskrit, but I know it's true of other languages like Aramaic and things, that the languages themselves were designed for their resonance. And so that the sounds themselves of chanting in Sanskrit is really transformative. So you are singing the names of God in Kirtan, which is a call and response form, but also it said that in addition to just the vibration, whether or not you believe in any of the gods you're singing about, it doesn't matter because the vibration alone uplifts your frequency. And then also it is said that as you chant these names, more and more of the qualities that these different gods and goddesses embody become alive in you. So it transforms you through that, and it also transforms you purely by the sound. And this is why singing and chanting happens really in every spiritual tradition, because there's something about not just listening to music, which has a huge power of its own, but actually using your own voice. Om Narayani, Om Narayani, Om Narayani, Namo Namah. One more time, just like that. I haven't been back here for about 15 years. But when I was here, the first time I came to the ashram, just curious. I was definitely not a practicing Hindu, didn't really know much about the Hindu tradition, actually. But I was a spiritual seeker, and I was interested in practice and really getting to that place that I think all of us long for, where our heart is open and our mind is still, and there's kind of a elevated space of consciousness. So that was something that I was really hungry for, and I imagined that the vehicle for getting there would be through meditation or maybe through yoga. So I came to Paramatmikatan Ashram, and I spent a lot of my days practicing meditation, practicing yoga, sitting by the Ganges, and unfortunately, and to my frustration actually, not a lot was happening in terms of I wasn't calming my mind, and there was a number of things going on at home that were on my mind, so I still had that kind of monkey mind happening. And eventually after a few days, I started going to these beautiful arti ceremonies that happen at night, and it's all filled with mantra and chanting. And I got a little songbook. I didn't know what any of the words meant or what I was singing about originally. There's a translation, so I eventually figured it out. But I would just participate and be singing along. And what I found after a few days was exactly what I'd been longing for, which was this heart opening and soul expansion and frequency lift. The time that would happen the most was during the artis and was when I was singing. And it's different for all of us. I'm someone who's always loved to sing, but I stopped singing actually when I went into college, because I was told that, I'm not a Broadway singer. And so, why bother, because I'm never gonna become famous for my Broadway singing. And so I stopped basically and was told, you're kind of too smart to pursue this, and do something that has a more predictable outcome. For my dad, going into business was the thing that had the more predictable outcome. But my soul came so alive. And so it was actually a rediscovery of the singing path, and not as something that was a performance, but that was really a prayer. And so I started doing it more and more, and what I found through doing it was that I first just did it for myself as a practice, just to open my heart and sing and chant, and then through time it became something that I started performing very small in my home, and then I ended up putting an album out, and it's kind of rippled out from there. But it's still the thing that I consider a really core part of my spiritual practice, mainly because it works. You know, whether or not you believe any of the, you know, Hindu ideology as a practice, it has the effect of opening the heart and calming the mind. Maybe not for everyone, but certainly for me. And so I started to cultivate it. And what happens though over time is I had been starting to let it go and let it slip a little bit, because it's been 15 years since I've had this level of infusion, and I have a new album coming out which is not Kirtan based, and I thought maybe I was done with that phase of my life until I came back to India now, and I'm re-inspired again, feeling the charge and the aliveness. And one of the things that I've been so struck by on this whole India trip is how really, at least in Rishikesh, India, mantra is hanging in the air.
It is.
And so it's like from morning to night you'll just hear things, and it's like this constant lull that's going on that for me I find is just lifting my vibration, and I just feel joyful.
And it's joyful, yes, and there's been so much joy this whole trip to India and Rishikesh. I mean, a few things you said. I mean, when you said, and it just works. It works. I've heard Krishna Das and others say that, you know, you do Kirtan mantras and they transform a person. The other thing too is, you know, it's really, I think it's sweet is you talked about you work with different aspects, different Kirtans, and then you start to embody those qualities. And I know with your work, with the sacred feminine, you know, courses you teach and so forth, that you're really bringing in those energies and consciousness through the works. And I know you're using Kirtan in some of those practices too. Yeah, exactly. So for example, when we're working with the goddess of compassion, one of the goddesses of compassion is Tara. So in that we do, you know, I work a lot with my people participating in my courses, the Tara chant. And there's some beautiful chants from the Buddhist tradition, actually, that you can do in a similar call and response format. And then when you're wanting to really break through and liberate energy, there's some very powerful Kali chants that we invoke. And so depending on what aspects you're wanting to bring through, you know, there's very reverential, more quiet aspects, and so you can choose the kirtan to celebrate the feminine. And then on Shiva Ratri, that's when we were doing the Shiva chants, and you know, really allowing the Shiva to come forward, which is a powerful, like lightning kind of energy. So it sounds like it's really had a transformative effect in your life and also in your teaching. Yeah, it has, and it's something that I weave in, and I always find that, you know, no matter what background people are from, there's something that brings the whole energy of a group together. You know, when the energy is fragmented and people are kind of, if you start chanting together very quickly, it's just a very, very effective. Again, it just the whole energy of the group comes into coherence, and there's like a syncing up that happens. So, right, and then let alone these ancient songs. With the name of God, different aspects. Yeah, some of them have been sung in the exact same way, and then a lot of what's happening now in the Kirtan tradition is there's this fusion that's going on of ancient mantras with more Western ambient kind of groovy tracks, and that's actually one of the things that was so fun for me. Was this incredible drummer. I think he's one of the most renowned drummers in India, named Shivamani, and his incredible wife, Runa. The two of them, I had no idea. We had an auspicious encounter where he was playing, and so was I, at one of these beautiful artis. I looked over and said, you know, I invited him and said, would you start drumming? And he started adding his incredible beats to it.
Then something started lifting and started growing that was, I thought it was amazing, but I didn't know what anyone else thought.
It was powerful.
This is where grace, it's like I feel like I've just surrendered and I wasn't expecting any of this.
Yeah.
And it's just unfolding, and I don't know where it will go, but just the coming together of cultures through music, it's such a beautiful way to meet and connect.
And to deepen your own relationship with spirit, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The chant that we were doing was to Narayani. She's one of the embodiments of the sacred feminine. She's an aspect of Lakshmi, a little more of a fierce aspect of Lakshmi, but it was a joy to get to sing that chant. And the mantra carried me, because I feel like I've done that mantra so many times, and so it wasn't about performing it. It was actually, about saying to Narayani, this is to honor her and that energy. And Lakshmi is such a beautiful, abundant aspect of the goddess, so it's just making yourself available to that, and then her coming through, and then it going wherever it wanted to go, and we'll see.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful experience. So Devaa, thank you so much for being part of this Yoga Day Summit, interviewing people, singing, and this whole trip to India.
Blessed be.
Yay.
Thank you.
Namaste.